Well, our next question, another hot button issue. And this has been a hot button episode of the Jim.
Well, I'm about to press a fucking button over here. The air raid button.
Oh, I thought that was the Tessa video. But this next question was sent into CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from John Schwab in Maybe, Michigan. Since it blew up on the Wrestling Observer message board and Twitter this week, the subject of Sergeant Slaughter's military career has been a hot button topic. Based on all the information being presented, it appears he was never in the Marine Corps at any point, which may have already been known, but has resurfaced to a large extent this week. My late father served in the Marine Corps, and I guess I never thought to question Sarge's authenticity before. This is a topic that has come up with Manny Fernandez in the past, who was in the Navy, but embellished his career to the point of saying he was a Navy SEAL and served in Vietnam.
Well, fuck, I didn't even know he was really in the fucking Navy.
But
we always knew he was bullshit about Vietnam, and every once in a while on the plane, he'd be playing cards with the boys, and he'd grab his side and go, Manny, you all right? Yeah, I just got some shrapnel. You know, what the fuck?
Did Sergeant Slaughter get by with this for so long because he embraced the gimmick 24/7 for the past 30 years and everyone just accepted it? He can make claims that he's always in character and that Robert Remus never claimed military service, but Sergeant Slaughter did. Is this a topic with Sarge that has ever come up in your interactions in the past? And I don't know if you've been following it, Jim, and I'm surprised that all of a sudden people are realizing he was never really in the military, but it has become a big issue because I gather he has done interviews where he's talked about training camp and talked about actually being in the military outside of the professional wrestling setting. So what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I always thought he was in the Marines. I really did. I thought he'd been a Marine before he was a wrestler. But were the interviews outside wrestling like last week, or were they during the course of his career or whatever? Because here's the thing. He looks like, which is probably why the gimmick got over so well. If you were going to think of a drill sergeant in the Marines of a professional wrestler, who else would look more like that than Sergeant Slaughter, right? The big chin and the whole 9 yards. I assume that's the gimmick they gave him when they made him Sergeant Slaughter. Where was he first Sergeant Slaughter? Because first he was Bob Remus when he first started.
That's right.
And then for a while he was
Super Destroyer
Mark II. What year would then when he went to
Vince?
When he went to
1980, when he went to the WWF, he was Sergeant Slaughter. He came out. He had the music. He had everything. He had the hat, the car. I mean, he really embraced it 100%.
Okay, well, as a matter of fact, in 1996 and 7 and 8, when I was living up there, they still had that his camouflage painted station wagon parked on level 2 of the parking garage. All the tires were flat. It hadn't been anywhere in ages, but it was still there. Okay, Vince gave him the gimmick, and Vince told him, okay, from now on, you're Sergeant Slaughter, and you were in the Marines. So that's what he did. And then what are you going to do? I guess after saying that for so many years, you're going to come out and say, no, I really never was. He probably just left it alone. But if part of the gimmick, I thought that fucking he probably had, because he looks like he should have been in the Marines. But I'm not upset at it, because if he was saying that in the 80s as part of the gimmick, that was what he was supposed to do. And the gimmick's more important than anything. Then what's he supposed to do? Call all the fucking papers 25 years later, say, hey guys, I was just fucking kidding. I really wasn't. So I'm not mad at him. I like Sarge. He's a good guy.
Was Tom Pritchard really a doctor?
Actually, if you talk to many of the people in the Continental locker room at the time, which is what earned him somewhat that nickname, yes, he was in certain cases a person who could dispense pharmaceuticals.
Well,
but I mean, see, yes, I get, you could be mad if it was some clown just trying to get in the newspaper for being a fucking war hero or whatever. But no, a lot of guys had gimmicks that they were not only in the service, but a lot of guys had gimmicks that they were a lot of things they weren't. and you worked that gimmick. And that was the most important thing. So I never admitted that I wasn't rich until long after I'd actually become rich in real life.
When was your first game of tennis?
Next week.
No. I saw a 1988 news clip of a skinny Jim Cornette. That was the summer you lost all that weight. Playing tennis. Horribly.
Yep. And you know what? That's the first time I had been on a tennis court since I was about 14 years old. Specifically for that, it was WBTV News in WBT3 in Charlotte. Did a 2-part feature on me on the 6 o'clock news. So they found the tennis court.
So when you were 14, you played tennis?
No, I never actually played it. I remember that we went over to it was a friend of my cousin's had a house with a tennis court, and I think I tried to play at that point. I was even younger than 14. It was even younger than that. No, I've never actually competitively played a game of tennis in my life.
Were there any sports that you did enjoy playing when you were younger?
Well, no, the sports I enjoyed watching were wrestling and roller derby. And I didn't like playing basketball. I just liked shooting basketball because I liked shooting the shot. But I was a fucking flat-footed, fucking not very athletic white boy. So I wasn't actually going to go out there and play because then I'd look like an idiot. But I could hit 3-pointers from quite a ways away.